Hey everyone, welcome to the 12th Man Insight Podcast. I'm Mo. I'm here with your boy Tommy. It's a new year, it's a new show, but it's the same old Seahawks, Tommy. No playoffs this year. Um, but damn, let's start with the breaking news though. Ryan Grubb fired after one season as Seahawks offensive coordinator. The guy's out. I was shocked. A lot of people weren't shocked. I was kind of advocating that I didn't like him too, and I was asking the Seahawks to look at another direction. But deep down inside of my mind, I thought they would give him another year because maybe like a rookie year, the guy could learn some stuff. But Tom, what do you think about the breaking news?
Yeah, it was definitely a good mix of surprised and not surprised. I've done my best to defend Ryan Grubb all season because it is hard to step in, coming from college, coming up to the NFL, and being a play caller, year one. And so I did my best to defend him, but ultimately the results were the results this year, and the Seahawks offense was bad. It held us back, and it's a weird flip from last season where it felt like the defense was holding us back, and
Mhm.
this year it's the offense. And so it's a results game, it's a results league. If you can't come out and produce results, then next man up. And so it's going to be an interesting search for Seattle. Mike McDonald obviously said he's going to be hands on, looking for our next guy, and I'm open to it. All the best to Ryan Grubb. I know he'll land on his feet, but it was definitely a decision that Seattle had to make, and I think the Seahawks will be better for it.
Yeah, yeah, man. Uh Ryan Grubb, man. I think what happened was maybe the guy was like, "Hey, I got better." And you know how in college it is. Like I got better receivers than you, so I'll just air it out. I won't put in the extra work to fool you, and attack scheme. And he said that on the press conference too. He said I was attacking personnel rather than scheme, and that's something I learned. And so I didn't see a lot of for example, in that Arizona game. So that he had a lot of success with that gap scheme, but the next game in Green Bay, he didn't go back to it. He didn't maybe run some play action off of it. He didn't innovate on what was working for him in that offense. So yeah, man, it's a difficult decision because on one side, you're like, oh man, he didn't have the right people to execute his scheme. But on the other side, you're like, hey, if you're an offensive coordinator and if you know that your scheme is not working based on what you have right now, do something different. Create a running game that works for what you have, and that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, when he is targeting personnel instead of scheme, I think that's where Seattle was lacking their offensive identity. When you're trying to mix it up week by week, just attacking the personnel on other teams, then you're not going to establish your identity. That you're not going to have like this is what we do, this is what we do well. When we continue to mix it up to attack different schemes. Also, not to mention, attacking personnel can work in college. It's not going to work in the NFL. I mean, I know Ryan Grubb knows this, but NFL players are good, all of
Yeah.
them. They're all very good, and so you can't just go single out one player and attack him the entire game in the NFL. It's just not going to work. I mean, the dude you're attacking is in the NFL for a reason. You can do it in college. There's definitely a bit more talent imbalance, but when you get to the league, everyone's good. You got to have your scheme, you got to have your identity, and that's who you have to be, and you have to allow the defense to game plan against that, and then you can adjust mid game according to what they're doing. And so, yeah, I mean so that was definitely a problem that I thought Seattle had faced, and it's especially tough too when you have Jason emerged this year. That is
Yeah.
promising, but then you look on the other hand, and DK Metcalf was down this year, and it
Mhm.
was a lack of targets, and not getting him involved in ways that I feel like went to his strengths. There's personnel to it. With your personnel when game planning on offense, use your personnel,
Mhm.
not the other team's personnel. And so you've got DK Metcalf, who is a freak athlete, has been very productive his entire career. We got to get him involved and pair him with JSN and make that a dangerous duo instead of DK just opening up for JSN.
Yeah.
And but in Ryan Grubb's defense, and this is the one defense I'll give him is it's hard to call plays when you can't run the ball. and it was a personnel thing. The interior offensive line was awful. It was awful. And the season's done. They did not make any steps this year. You know, maybe there was a lightning in a bottle game maybe from the interior, but overall they did not play well enough this year, and that definitely made Ryan Grubb's job a lot harder.
Yeah, yeah. And did you see? Because I agree with you, the offensive line had some issues, but did you see any creative scheme around that? Like maybe jets, a lot of jet sweeps, three-step drops, bubble screens. I didn't see those kind of creative alternative run game options from Ryan's Grove.
Well, I'm happy you say that because there's a play going viral from Washington last year. I forget what game it was.
Oh yeah, it was the
It
Apple Cup,
was
I think so, versus
it was
Wazoo.
the Apple Cup. Yes, yes, that's right. Where was that this year? Because
Yeah,
when it was 4th and 1 for us, we were going vanilla right up the middle and getting stuffed.
yeah.
You know, where was that? And
Yeah,
so I mean,
I was reading that in Twitter, and actually the Rams, took that play in the last game, and I think what's his name, the guy who was the offensive coordinator who was calling plays for McVay on the last game, um,
oh my goodness, drawing a blank on
Mike
the name.
Lafleur, Mike Lafleur, or Matt Lafleur? No, it's not Matt Lafleur.
No,
Uh,
no, it's not.
I think it's
I'm drawing a blank. I don't want to hold on to it too long, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly
yeah.
what you're talking about.
Anyway, it's one of the Lafleur brothers, and so yeah, crazy man. I didn't see any of that, but hey, yeah, best of luck to Ryan Grubb, and yeah, let's hope for the best for Ryan Grubb. All right, Tommy, let's talk about the second thing right here. So the Seahawks interviewed three offensive coordinator candidates. So you got Hank Fraley from the Lions, offensive line coach. You got
Yep, yep.
Thomas Brown from Chicago, and you got Clint Kubiak. Which candidate are you most excited to see? How he does in Seattle if he gets hired.
This is this is probably, I don't know if this is an unpopular take, but it's got to be Hank Fraley.
Mhm.
You know, if you can. I mean, with the development he has done on the offensive line for Detroit, I know he doesn't have NFL play calling experience, but he's been around some really good minds, and they talk in meetings, they talk outside of meetings. I know he's picked up things. He's very well in tuned with how the Lions have been calling plays and how they want to go about it. They talk about it in offensive staff meetings during the week. So he's got the concepts right, and his development track is beautiful and really what Seattle needs. And I would not mind taking from that Detroit offensive tree because I think that type of scheme would really complement Seattle and their defense. So it's Hank Fraley all the way for me. I think if we hired him, that I would be very very excited.
And I think so. He was a coach for the last couple of 5 years, 6 years, 11-year NFL veteran offensive lineman, played for Andy Reid. A lot of things to like about this guy, man. And I was reading about him, and he wasn't always the greatest athlete, right? He was one of those tweeners, but he came out, just battled. So he knows how to mask some of the weaknesses on the offensive line. So I really like him. I also, and this is an unpopular take, and I've been saying this on Twitter, but I like Thomas Brown, offensive coordinator and interim head coach with the Chicago Bears. I really like his scheme, man. I was watching his film from Carolina. I think this year is unfair, to kind of judge him this year based on he didn't get like a training camp. He didn't get a full, full off season to install his scheme. But in Carolina, man, I was watching some of his schemes, some of his film over there. I think Bryce Young did him bad because he was a little bit too antsy and he was throwing the checkdowns a lot. But this guy knows how to call plays, man. What do you think about Thomas Brown?
I think Thomas Brown would not get the best reception. First things first. I,
Yeah,
I don't think Seattle fans would be,
excited.
excited, fired up. I do. I It's tough. It's tough for me because I follow the Bears fairly close.
Yeah,
Because being from Illinois, a lot of my best friends are Bears fans. I was just at the Bears Seahawks game, and I definitely have my fair amount of questions.
Mhm.
Not that he would have to take over, take control of the team, take control of the locker room, but I don't know. I'd have my questions. That's the best way I could say it. I just haven't. I was not inspired by the way he took control of Chicago when he took over. And I know you're an interim head coach, so it's not, everything's still up in the air. You're probably not coming back, and there's a lot of factors that play in there. And um, watching the Bears offense, uninspiring. Now, personnel wise, they have bigger issues than Seattle has, and they have a lot of things to work through. So there'd be a lot of question marks with that hire for me. I'd really have to see it because what he did in Carolina, yes, like I do think there's some promise there, but with what he did in Chicago, there's less promise. And personnel does matter in that it adds context, but I personally think I'm Hank Fraley all the way. I'm putting all the chips on the table there and seeing what happens.
Yeah, I agree with you. But one thing I liked about his play calling in Chicago, and maybe like you follow the Bears more and you know this better than me, but man, he was always getting the running game to the edges, taking it away from the offensive line because he knew where his weaknesses were, right? So he had a lot of screens, a lot of jet sweeps, making it a little bit easier on Caleb Williams. But I agree with you. I don't think he's going to get a job because, we know how season ticket holders are feeling this year, right? Not a lot of people showing up on games, and people want to feel excited. So maybe they'll give it to a coordinator that will help, you know, bring out that excitement.
Yeah, and I mean, you're gonna have a guy like Hank Fraley come in draft night, right? If you hire him, and he's gonna give you his input on potential offensive lineman prospects.
Mhm.
And I would really like to hear Hank Fraley's input on offensive line prospects based off of his track record.
Yeah.
I think that would be some added value that I don't think a lot of people would talk about. But he's going to be there on draft night, and he's gonna have as much as the OC. He's gonna have a lot of say. He won't have all the say, but he will have a lot of say in kind of where they go about it, especially with his input on offensive lineman prospects in this draft.
All right, Tommy. So the season ended. Last time we had a podcast was after the Green Bay game. And that game was a disaster. And what did you think about the games after that? What did you think about the Minnesota game? That was heartbreaking, man. The Seahawks really had a chance to win that game. So, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll lay the scene. I've got a couple scenes for these next couple games. So I'm in the Dominican Republic, flying back to Dallas, and I'm waiting in line to board the flight. And I have the game on my phone. Justin Jefferson over the top beats the cover two, touchdown Vikings, take the lead late. I mean that I'm sitting there just, oh my goodness, like what is, like, here we go. And the Vikings, we played well. We did play well against the Vikings. The Vikings are a great team. You don't accidentally win as many games as the Vikings did this year. You have to be pretty good. Kevin O'Connell should be coach of the year. Um, but man, that was disappointing. It's disheartening. It just Green Bay game was tough. You come back the next week, another big game. You're at home again, and they played well enough to win. And at the end of the game, they just couldn't get a stop when it was needed. And
Yeah.
the coverage, Julian Love was just a bit too center field, and they found a nice space, and it was a good ball, good catch. With a great receiver. It was just a tough game. It put us in a hole that we ultimately never got ourselves out of, and it was, yeah, just a tough loss to a good team.
Yeah. Man, a lot of things went wrong in that game, especially the Vikings. So you had Trey Brown lining up offsides, which is crazy. I've never seen that, in an NFL game. So it's crazy, like a corner lining up offsides. Okay, so you got that one. You got the Byron Murphy face mask, which was another. Oh my
And it's
goodness.
just like the Trey Brown thing is one thing that is just, oh, you can't have that. You just cannot have that. Alignment issues in
Yeah.
that late in the season. I mean that and frustrating. Byron Murphy's especially tough because that was going to be a big, like, signature rookie moment. Get that sack, and it's just a bang bang play. Like he's got it. It's just like we got to be more cautious, but it's just such a bang and real game speed. Like it's just very hard to get that right, and that was really tough, just really tough because I thought we had it. Flags coming down. Like, oh, here we go, and
Yeah.
it just the story of the season, really. Seattle just couldn't get out of their own way at times and
Yeah.
continued to hurt themselves. We're a heavily penalized team all season long, and in that game, that's what ended up dooming us. And
Yeah.
so, that's one thing I'd love to clean up this offseason is the penalties for sure. But man, those two plays, specifically the Trey Brown one, was
That was a gut
really
punch.
really brutal. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was right there, right there.
What did you think about the DK giving up on the route, the last interception?
Uh
Who do you blame that play on? Do you blame first of all? Let's talk about that. Do you blame it on Gino
yeah,
or do you blame it on DK?
it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. You can't pin it on one guy in that situation. DK needs to finish the route. Gino's got to get it in a better spot. Like everything about that play was just like,
Yeah, it was
once
bad.
again, just the season in a nutshell.
Yeah, Olu got
It
beat
was just
bad
like
by a spin move. Olu got
when
beat bad.
going out. Yes, and the Vikings defense is great, and just to go out with a whimper like that, that was definitely tough. And the celebration afterwards, I keep seeing it. I keep seeing it. Another moment I remember still standing in that line, seeing the Vikings entire defense celebrating in our end zone.
Yeah,
That was tough, really tough. But it's late in the game. You're just trying to make something happen. And definitely a miscommunication there on that route and on the throw. And of course, Vikings were able to capitalize and get out of there with a win. Very, very tough. Just the whole late game of that one was just tough all the way around. I can't say a whole lot of positive about the back half of that game.
all right, Tommy. So it's the off season, and now we're looking forward to 2025 next season. The Seahawks, man, could make a serious run if they fix some stuff. So, what do you think the first couple of things they need to do? Because they need to address obviously Ernest Jones, DK Metcalf and Geno Smith's contract questions, and then you got the 2022 class. So, what do you think, Tommy? What's going to happen?
I first want to start with is get excited. Get excited, Seattle fans, because I think next year could be a very, very fun year. I think, get the first year out of the way, take the bumps, take the bruises, learn, grow from the tough lessons, and I really think next year could be an exciting season for Seattle. If we're looking for positives for not winning the division this year, finishing second place, we don't get the Eagles next year. We don't get the Lions next year.
Yeah,
If we finish first place, got a home playoff game, lost to the first round. Well, here we are, today. Probably, I don't think they would have put us on Monday, and we're sitting here off season mode, but with a worse draft pick, and we're going to Detroit, or I think we have Detroit at home. We would have Detroit at home, and then we're going to Philly, and we're going to Baltimore, I believe, if we
yeah.
finish first. So there are some positives. We avoid three what would be extremely tough games next year, and substitute them out, for the Steelers and the Commanders and the Vikings, which aren't going to be easy games by any means, but much more reasonable than what we would have seen with those top teams. So there's that. But let's just get into what Seattle needs to do this offseason. I mean, Ernest Jones, let's just start there. I mean, we don't even need to get into position specifics. Ernest Jones, saying the name, get it done. Get it done. And I do believe we're going to get it done. You're not making that trade. He definitely made a little bit more money than I think Seattle thought. They were going to have to pay him when they traded for him, but you got to get it done. You don't not trade a fourth round pick and a player for a guy you're going to let walk after half a season. Like it's time to get it done. He was a great fit for us. Very productive. Played really well. Changed our defense. I do think he transformed our defense a bit, and so we got to get that done. It's got to happen, and so that should be priority A. Um, I would love to see Seattle, address the secondary just a little bit, just slightly corner. More specifically, it's just get the corner. I'd love to see them add a corner,
Are you paying Rick Willen? Are you paying Rick Willen?
kind of in the top half of. No, I'm not paying Reek. I just think, and it's not even like I like Reek Woolen. I like Reek Woolen, but like for every good play, give us some negatives. I
Yeah.
mean, and it is a talented corner with traits that you can't find anywhere else in the league, but it's the tackling. I don't think Tariq Woolen has the toughness to play and might be successful in Mike McDonald's scheme. I think he is going to enter the market and get a fat bag, and I think and I wouldn't, and I think it's so tough. It's so tough because you have to have a replacement lined up. You have to know that you're going to be able to not be running out someone that's significantly worse than Reek Woolen,
Yeah.
and so I wouldn't pay Reek Woolen yet.
Yeah. So because
I
Mike
wouldn't.
is looking for like a Marlon Humphrey type of player, like in
Yes,
your
yes,
face.
yes. I wouldn't pay Reek Woolen yet. I think there's a lot of things we got to figure out there, and with what he will probably command, you have to make sure that it's worth it in
Yeah.
comparison to the other players you're going to have to pay as well. And
Okay.
so that was definitely one that I know was going to come up, and I no, I wouldn't. I think we got some good years, but I think we know who he is at this point, and he can get you interceptions, but he can also get beat real good in big moments, and that he just I don't know if that's worth it, with what we had seen throughout his career.
Yeah. Is this a good year for a cornerback draft?
It's okay.
Mhm.
It's okay. There's definitely some guys, and I got to dive in deeper, and I really got to dive in. I haven't hit full draft mode yet, but we'll definitely get there soon. And we're gonna dive in, and I'm gonna have a lot of names for you. But as far as right now, it's solid. I prefer Seattle to kind of do it in the top half of their draft class. Go
Yeah.
grab a corner. But I wouldn't say the first or second round. And it's also BPA. If a great player falls to you, got to take him. You got to take him.
Yeah.
So, similar to what Seattle's had a lot of success doing in the draft recently is just BPA. You don't need to force it either. You don't need to force it if you need that position, but there's a bit of a drop off. Like continue to take good players and develop good players, and let the pieces fall as they may and fill in as you need. I mean that's how I see it. The top half of the draft, or the first or second round, needs to be interior offensive line. It's time for John Schneider to man up and do it. Like
Mhm.
I know his philosophy. Everyone knows his philosophy now. We all saw it firsthand all season long. We saw it for 17 games this year. We saw what that philosophy looked like, and it's time. It is time to address the interior offensive line and use some capital on the interior offensive line and help everybody out. And there's some good dudes in that first. Jonas Savannah from Arizona, Tyler Booker, Kelvin Banks falls. I don't think Kelvin Banks can be a tackle in the league. I think he's better suited as a guard. So there's that. You can also move Abraham Lucas into guard, which is maybe a shot in the dark, and then draft a tackle. But one way or another, we have got to have a different face in on those guard spots next year for
Yeah.
sure.
So you talked about Ernest Jones. You talked about Rick Woolen. Now let's talk about the other stuff. Let's talk about DK Metcalf, Geno Smith, the 2022 class, K9, Boye Mafe. You got who else? Who else is left? So you got some decisions to
Well,
make. And you
yeah,
also
I
got
wanted to
like
quickly.
Draymond Jones and Uchenna Nwosu as well.
Yeah, yeah. I actually want to dive into that just a little bit more. Like some more unrestricted free agents we have are Jaron Reed
Oh
and
yeah,
Jonathan Hankins.
man, Jerry, you
I
got to
think
get
they're
him.
both gone.
Oh
I
really?
think they're
Jerry
both
Reed's gone.
gone. I
Okay.
think Jaron Reed's going to command more than what Seattle's going to want to do.
Oh wow.
Um, and so like I brought up a name from Dallas who's got connections to our coaching staff now is Osa Odigizua.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought that would be a worthy replacement, but like also the problem is you bring Jeremy, you want to make sure that you're allowing Byron Murphy to take that next step as well.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
got to trust your early draft pick that he's gonna be able to step up and take that next step in his career and become that true starting force inside as well.
Yeah.
So I think Jaron Reed is gonna get priced out of here. I don't think they'll bring Hankins back, but yeah, watch for like a Osa Odigizua, like like something like that. You know, someone who's
Mm.
connections to our coaching staff. I think Dallas is going to go through a lot of changes this offseason. They're going to have to make some tough decisions, and so you know you could capitalize on that. You could
Yeah.
definitely capitalize on that. And then you've got, you know, I want to talk about Trey Brown, who's an unrestricted free agent. I'm willing to bet that Seattle will actually tender Josh Jobe and let Trey Brown walk.
Yeah, you
I
have
I
to.
I, I think they're going to tender Jobe, and I think they're going to let Trey Brown walk. I think Joe's back. I think Brown's out. Another, you know, I think Farrell Brown. I think he's out. I think he's gone. There's
Yeah.
no way. Like, we brought him in to be a run blocker. We can't run the ball. Like
Yeah.
you know what are we doing here? Stone Forsythe gone. I think he's out. A couple other names: Artie Burns, Travis Gibson. I think they're both out of here. Kevon Wallace out of here. Laken Tomlinson's a name though. Like he's an unrestricted free agent,
Yeah.
and it will be interesting to see that one. If the Seattle resigns him, there's going to be some takes on Twitter. I'm not going to lie. Like
Yeah. Man, I would keep him as a backup though, like backup money.
I would resign him for the sole fact that like it also depends on who we hire as the OC because sometimes they want their offensive lineman doing different things, and if he doesn't fit, what he wants, his strengths aren't what the new OC wants, and it could be. So we're talking completely based on the fact that like we don't know anything yet either,
Mm.
So there's that. Another restricted free agent that I think Seattle, this isn't going to be a big move, but Jalen Darden.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think I think I think you got to tender him. I think you got to
Yeah.
tender him. Um, I mean, he came in and completely solidified our return.
Yeah.
Our return. Like special teams just calmed it all down. Calmed it all down. We were having a lot of issues with fielding punts and kicks, and I think Jalen Darden came in and was very steady, very solid. He had some solid returns for us this year. He didn't do anything completely outstanding, but he was very steady for us, and I think you can trust a steady presence, especially just in the return game. I think that's what you want. So another one. Then I talked about some guys that are on contract that
Mhm.
might be moved on from this offseason. And I think the secret's already kind of out, but I had alluded to it, earlier in our early episodes. Is I think Tyler Lockett's gone. I think
Yeah.
I think we watched him play his last game in Seattle, and
Mm.
all love to Tyler Lockett. I mean that's a Seahawks legend there. I think there's nothing but straight appreciation for that guy. But I do think Father Time has done his toll, and it's time to kind of move on and see what else is out there for Seattle. And another surprising one I
Mm.
want to bring up: Noah Fant.
Oh, no Fant.
I
I thought he signed a
I
3-year contract.
did he
I
did
think he's.
he?
I think he
I
signed a
could see them.
Yeah, he signed a 3-year
Well,
contract.
I still think for some reason they could move on. Like
Yeah, they can
truly,
trade.
like
You can trade him. Mm.
I think they might move on. And then DK, I think DK's back. I think DK's back. I think here we are again 3 years later, and we're talking about DK Metcalf leaving Seattle. I just don't think that's going to be the case again.
Exactly. And I was listening to
Um,
Mike McDonald's press conference, and he was talking about how he wants an offensive coordinator that puts the ball in his playmakers' hands, right?
yep.
And he feels like DK didn't get that opportunity this year. He felt like,
He didn't.
even though because he was pissed off on maybe Grubb kind of like shifting coverage towards one way, but not kind of making the play calls that would, give the ball to DK in space.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not mad about it, but like, go to the LA game, the last game of the year. Like it worked. It's fine. Like I like Jake Bobo, but why are we drawing up red zone plays for Jake Bobo when you have JSN,
Yeah.
DK, all these? Like I'm just like that's just the honest truth.
Yeah.
Like and I really do like Jake Bobo. He's a good player, but it's just when you have these other guys, why are we scheming up plays for Jake Bobo?
Yeah.
you know, and he should be your third read, not your first read.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the stuff that I kept seeing. It's like we've got DK, we got JSN. DK as getting no targets. It's not like we're trying to get the ball to DK and it's not working. Like we are not getting the ball to DK. There are ways we can get the ball to DK,
Yeah.
And I think that was the most frustrating stuff is because like we've got these talented guys, but why aren't we utilizing them? And we're not scoring. So why like it's one thing if you're humming, you're moving like, but we're not, and we're not targeting our best players. I feel like that goes hand in hand to me, but that we'll see what happens next year. I think DK will be back, and hopefully we get him back on track, and I'm sure DK is frustrated. I'm sure DK is thinking about what it would look like outside of Seattle when you're not getting the
Yeah.
ball like that. Of course you are.
Yeah.
He knows who he is. He knows what he's done. If you're just getting looked past, like of course you're gonna start thinking about like, oh, what would I look like in Kansas City? Like what numbers would I be putting up in Kansas City? It's human nature,
Mm.
So
So you're paying him 35 million, Justin
gosh.
Jefferson money.
You're asking all the hard questions, Mo. Like 35 million. Oh man.
That's tough, man. Tough decision.
It is. It is. Like I'm happy I'm not in John Schneider's shoes this offseason because there is some really tough decisions to be made. I am happy I can just be talking behind a screen here and not making the actual decisions. But
Yeah. How much is
my
Amon Ra getting paid? Amon Ra getting paid. I think he's the third or fourth highest receiver. I think he's getting paid
I'm
28 million.
let me check. I'm just gonna look it up because I kind of want to get that baseline. I don't think DK can ask for 4 year 120, so
Yeah.
about 30 mil. I would do that. 35 mil for DK is pushing it. I would like, and if DK's asking for that, I'd just be like, I mean, that's why you negotiate. I don't see it.
Mm,
Someone would pay him that. That's the only scary issue is like a team probably would pay DK Metcalf
mm,
$35 million,
mm.
and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
eventually that
You
might be
don't you
what we
think
have to.
the Commanders would pay him?
Truly,
Yeah.
someone would. I Patriots would. I know the Patriots would.
Patriots would exactly.
Patriots
But
most definitely would.
if he's a free agent, he's gonna sign with the Commanders because that's the team that has success. So, and he knows Bobby Wagner; they're really good friends. So
Yeah.
you never know, man. You never know.
You do never know. You do never know. It's going to be a really interesting offseason. I mean, we're totally speculating over here. I mean, as easily as I think DK is going to stay, I mean, they could ship him off, right? Like it is this is going to be a big one. I think there are going to be some surprise moves that we don't see coming this offseason. Um but man, it's going to be a ride. Everyone buckle up because this is going to be one interesting offseason, I think.
Yeah.
Lots of changes. Lots of changes.
Yep. So you got DK. You're signing DK. Who's next on your list?
Draymond, I'm cutting Draymond Jones.
Okay.
I think he definitely had his best year in Seattle. I'm not sure that's saying a whole lot, but
Mm.
like, I for what he's getting paid, it's time to cut ties. I
Also,
mean,
this draft is good for edge players as well. So,
it is. It is. Abdul Carter, if you want to fall to 18, let me know.
oh
Like we'll,
man,
we'll, we'll be ready. We'll be ready.
oh man,
Um,
that would be crazy though. That would be
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, I'd be taking victory laps all around downtown Dallas. They wouldn't know what's going on. What's the dude in the Seahawks jersey doing in Dallas right now? Freaking out. But yeah, there are some promising edges in this draft, and I don't think I'd be shocked to see Seattle, dip into that edge class a little bit. Especially with like Uchenna Nwosi's got some injury issues. You got Boye, who's been great. Derek Hall's been solid. I think you move on from Draymond Jones. I think they do dip in there at some point and try to get
Yeah,
one more guy to fill out that room,
yeah,
just probably to replace Draymond Jones' roster spot there. So I don't know when, but I do expect them to dip into that edge market at some point
yeah.
for
I would be
sure.
pissed off, man, if Abdul Carter falls to the Niners. They pick at 11. That would be like, oh man, Nick Bosa and
That'd be
Abdul
that'd
Carter.
be so that would be so peak. That would just be so like, of course, that
Yeah,
I certainly hope not. But we do have to accept the fact that on draft night, the Niners will probably get a good player. They
they'll get a really
always
good
do a
player.
great job scouting. They do a great job scouting all the time. Pick 11, which is a good spot. They are probably going to add a impact player that was going to give Seattle some troubles down the line. We just have to accept that.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
All
But
right. So
that's I was
yeah,
gonna say that's the non fun part about watching the Niners lose all year long is that they're
yeah,
gonna go ahead and get a nice player in the draft.
yeah. They're gonna get a really good player. But all right. So we're down to and So who you got next? So K9. Did you talk about K9? Are you extending
Yeah, we
him?
haven't talked about K9. No, I don't think I am. And it's great. Like it's tough because like he worries me. He worries me because he is so talented when he plays,
Hmm.
and he's a game changer. I mean, he does things not a lot of running backs can do, but he showed me this year that he might be breaking down a little bit. Like
Yeah,
the injuries just kept piling up, and oh man, I just I don't think I can. Like in good practice, I just don't feel like with where Seattle's at right now.
yeah,
You know, if Seattle was a great team, say Seattle's Philly, because like I am so anti paying running backs. Like I don't believe in that, but to an extent, I could get behind it because but in under one circumstance, you have to be a complete football team with money to add a luxury item.
yeah.
You know, like the Eagles, they are set everywhere, right?
Mhm.
How can we take like Saquon Barkley's a game changer. He's a game changer. But like if they weren't a complete team and paid Saquon, and it's an entirely different look than what they are today. Like he just put them over the top.
Yeah,
Versus like he can't, the Ravens, another team that's well put together. What can we add to put us over the top? They're just short. They're just short. Add a game changer, Derrick Henry. Josh Jacobs on the Packers. Packers, have a lot of good pieces together. What do we need to kind of help us out and put us over the top here? And the Packers obviously, aren't with us anymore in the postseason, but the same deal, like you just that in a luxury sense, but you need to be in a good spot. Seattle's not in that place right now. I don't think you can pay Kenneth Walker.
all right. So moving on. Let's talk about Gino. I think we have to talk. We save him for last. Let's talk about let's talk about Geno Smith, man. So what are you doing? There's a lot of varying opinions out there, right? Some people are saying, hey, let's blow the whole thing up. Let's go with Sam Howell. Let's even some crazy takes like draft Dylan Gabriel at number 18. Uh,
I'm
so
rolling my eyes. I'm rolling my eyes. This
so
is
so like what are you doing? Are you blowing the whole thing up, or are you giving Gino a good deal, 2 year good deal, and saying, hey, like 35 mil, 30 mil, let's run this thing back.
let's run this thing back. Let's run this thing back. I don't get it. I don't get it. Dylan Gabriel will not be a better quarterback than what Geno Smith is. Like that's just a crazy take. We're not getting Cam Ward. So if we're not getting
Yeah.
Cam Ward, then let's move on. Let's move on with Geno. I mean, the opportunity for Seattle to upgrade a quarterback will come. But oh my goodness, no! Like it's not happening. We're not moving on from Geno this offseason for Dylan Gabriel or Sam Howell. I mean, if they like 5 and 12 seasons, then sure, like we can do that. But like I know nobody in that front office is trying to lose their job right now, so we're not doing that. So
This is what people don't
no, it's Geno all the
understand.
way. Geno's our guy.
Yeah, this is what people don't understand. They don't understand that there are actual people in the front office that will lose their jobs if a 5 or 12 season happens. Right? People will lose their jobs, and
Oh, just tank.
yeah, it's
Oh,
just
just
tank.
tank. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, perfect. You sit there comfortably. I'm gonna lose my job, and then yeah, like it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
It's never going to work like that. The ownership has to be on the same page. Like, oh, we're gonna suck this year. Like I know, like, and that's okay. Like we're gonna get like no, that I can tell you right now, that's not conversations going on in Seattle. Like
yeah.
they're a couple pieces away. They're not a trillion pieces away, and you can if you can get to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff and Brock Purdy, you can certainly get to a Super Bowl with Geno Smith. You just have to. What's the common denominator with those guys? They
Great
have a
lines.
complete roster around them and a great line. Like shoot, I'm even throwing Jalen Hurts in the mix. I don't even care. Like I'm throwing Jalen Hurts right in that category right there because
Yeah,
you're not Jalen Hurts is not going to go win you a game. I can assure you that. Like
yeah.
so, yeah, run it back with Geno. Let's not overthink this. Short term deal, of course. You're not going to give him some quarterback super max, but like when the time is right, Seattle will strike on that next quarterback. But that's not happening this offseason. There's nobody. Unless the Chargers are like, hey, let's get rid of Justin Herbert. But again,
Yeah,
we're
let's
coming
switch.
back to reality here. But
But
we're
hey,
we're coming back to reality.
hey, like people don't understand. Either you have an elite quarterback and you don't have to worry about the rest of your roster, or you have a good quarterback and you build the rest of your roster. So, I mean,
Yes.
Seahawks fans have to get back to reality, right? They don't have Lamar Jackson. They have a good quarterback. Geno Smith is a good quarterback. But hey, you need
Geno
to,
Smith's the top 12 quarterback.
yeah, and you need
Top
to get your
12.
top 12, and you need to get your offensive line to at least a top 15 range, right? Get an average offensive line.
Well, you replace Geno this offseason, and you get and so that's where all your offseason capital goes, right? Just to replace Geno Smith because quarterbacks are not cheap in any capacity. If you want to go get Cam Warren, it's going to take everything. You want to go get another quarterback, it's going to take everything. Okay, so say you get a quarterback that you feel is better than Geno, he's still going to be walking in behind that same interior offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see the same problems that we saw all season long. Build the roster, and then when the roster's set, go strike on that quarterback and let him just slide right into what is a complete roster, and then go. You know, there's no point in moving on from a top 12 quarterback to a bottom 5 quarterback, a bottom 10 quarterback. Like there's just no point in doing that. You've got a guy who loves Seattle, who's been around the building, the players love, and more fans should love, and you've got your guy. Just you got to wait until the time is right. Time is right.
Mm-hmm.
2027. I'm telling you, 2027 is when Seattle should try to strike on that quarterback. But we'll
Exactly,
see.
and I believe in 2027 you can find a really your franchise QB maybe top 20 right in the draft. Like you can find number 20,
There's going to
number
be some
20. Yep.
there's going to be some serious quarterback shuffle in 27 because Raul is going to be coming to the draft.
Yeah.
Lagway is going to be coming to the draft. There's going to be some quarterback shuffle because those two are really, really great prospects if they continue their track, and they'll be 1 and 2 in that draft, and there'll be some quarterback shuffling. And we might not get one of those two, but there's going to be when one pushes one out, like there will be an opportunity for Seattle to potentially upgrade a quarterback then.
Yeah. All right. So before we move forward, any last points on the offseason priorities?
Yeah, I mean, these are the positions I want to see Seattle address. Let me just wrap this up. Safety, corner, tight end potentially first round. Tyler Warren, if they can get their hands on a Tyler Warren, maybe sure, I'm in. Like I'm so in. Um, Interior offensive line, offensive tackle with a question mark because if you kind of want to see where you shuffle them, and then receiver. At some point in time, you got to address that. If you're going to let Tyler go, we got to replace. We got to replace. So we'll see. We'll see what that goes. We'll see where it goes.
Awesome.
Maybe a
All
little
right.
linebacker depth. Maybe a little linebacker depth.
All right, Tommy. So we watched a great game of football, great couple of games of football this weekend. And I was looking at those games and I was like, maybe the Seahawks could, compete with the Chargers and Texans. But the other games, I was like, ain't no way we're competing with the other games. I was like
Yeah,
that
I agree.
we would be one and done. I don't think we would beat maybe the Vikings. We would beat the Vikings. All right, there's a good chance we would beat
If
the
we had the
Vikings.
Vikings at home, I think we'd have a real shot at it.
Mhm.
Especially with how we lost. If we got the Vikings again at home after what happened, a couple weeks ago, I do think Seattle would probably come out on top that time. But at Philly, no shot.
Yeah.
It would have been ugly in Philadelphia. Like we may have spared ourselves from embarrassment there.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, what Saquon would have done to us would have been bad. Would have been
Yeah.
real bad. Um, so that I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think we would have go. I don't think we would have won in Tampa. I don't. I think we may have beat the Commanders at home. I think we may have beat the Commanders at home.
Yeah.
But if we were at Tampa, I don't think we would have been able to win there. Um, if we had the Vikings at home, I think we would just for the sole fact of how we lost a couple weeks ago to Minnesota. Um, and then what at Houston? I think we're gonna beat Houston. I'm not big on them. I don't think they're all that. The Chargers would have beat. I know we're talking about AFC teams here, but just in general, the Seahawks are probably in that same tier of teams that got eliminated this weekend. I mean, 10 and
Yeah.
7, right? They're 10 and 7. They're not. They're
Mhm.
not 10. You win 10 games in the NFL. That's not. It's not bad. Don't like. We're not a bad football team, and just the playoff season didn't work out for us to get in, and that's okay because I think this is exactly we're in the same tier of teams that got eliminated this weekend.
Yeah.
So
I think they're just 4 to 5 players away from becoming that 14, 13 team, right? Divisional round team.
totally. And I think this offseason could be a pivotal one that puts us in that spot, you know.
Oh,
And 'cause I don't think like the tier of teams that we're in, you know, Tampa, Washington. I do think we're in that tier, you know.
yeah,
Um, but man, like we're right there. We just have to continue to get better. I mean, I know we didn't make the playoffs. You know, we did go 10-7. Like I want to make that very clear. Like we went 10-7 this year. That is 8 out of 10 times a playoff record. Like
yeah,
you know, so we were good enough to be in there. We weren't good enough to go on a run. You know,
yeah,
and so we just got to continue to add and continue to get better and be aggressive because we are close. We are. We just have to continue to get better.
yeah. Shout out to the Commanders organization, man. Adam Peters, I think he was coming from the Niners. You got our coach Dan Quinn. Went there. Jaden Daniels. I was impressed by Jaden Daniels. Man. I didn't know he would be this good. Because I thought maybe like LSU, because I thought Penix should have won the Heisman, in the last year. So I was like, maybe Jaden Daniels was a little bit. I didn't think he would survive in the NFL, based on his build and everything. But the guy is electric, man.
He is. No, he is. Great pick by Washington. They killed it because that was what I missed on. I wasn't sold on Jane Daniels coming out, and sure enough, I was wrong. He's fantastic. He is fantastic.
And he's clutch too. I think he has one of the highest passer rating in the fourth quarter, which is crazy.
He is clutch. He is very clutch. He's got that gene. You can't teach that, you know, and
Yeah,
that's what makes it extra fun for Washington. Is like some quarterbacks are really good, some quarterbacks aren't clutch, some quarterbacks are, and he's got the clutch gene for sure.
yeah,
So Washington's going to be around for a bit. You know, they are. It's unfortunate they share a division with Philly and they're unlimited cap space, but they're going to be around. They're going to be around for sure. We got to keep that in mind for a playoff spot. We want that wild card. You better believe Washington's going to be right there. You know,
yep,
they're going to be in it too. So
yep. All right.
Minnesota
So,
too. Minnesota too.
so your predictions this week. So what do you think? So you got Kansas City, Texans. You got the Bills, Ravens, and you got Detroit Commanders, and you got one more game. So either Vikings, Rams against the Philly, and sorry, either Philly against the Rams or Vikings against Philly. So what do you think? What's your
So
predictions?
I'm gonna start the last wild card game. I'm gonna take Vikings. LA got them earlier in the season on a play that
Yeah,
cost us the game against the Vikings that they didn't call. Right.
yeah,
Of course. I'm gonna take the Vikings. They're gonna get their revenge. You know, they get back. They'll get it done. They'll go to Philly and go ahead and end their season in Philly. And then, we've got Detroit and
Commanders.
Detroit Commanders. Good year for the Commanders. Their season will end in Detroit. Um,
But
so we're gonna have Detroit, Philly in
do you
the
think they
NFC
can
Championship.
win a shootout? Because that defense is not good. That Lions defense is not good. They're banged up.
Neither is the Commanders defense though.
Yeah,
Like that secondary is kind of food. I won't even lie. Like
yeah,
I and if the Lions can get a run game going against them, it'll be over really
yeah.
fast
Time of
for
position.
Washington. Yeah, and so I think we're headed full steam ahead for a Eagles Lions NFC Championship game, which I think is what it
That's gonna
should
be,
be.
it's gonna be a good
That's
game.
been the two best teams in the NFC all season long. And I think that's exactly what we deserve as fans. Like I will definitely be sitting
That's,
down for that one.
that's a good
And
game.
then yeah, and then on the other side, Chiefs will take care of Houston. I
Yeah,
think rather easily. Um, and then the other game we've got is Buffalo Baltimore. Now that is
that's
the
a
game of the weekend.
that's the game of the weekend.
That's the game of the weekend right there. I mean,
Oh, let me check. Is it what? Oh, it's on CBS. Oh man.
Sunday Night Football. I think that's Sunday Night Football. Bills
No,
Ravens
it's
is
I
Sunday Night
checked.
Football.
It's on CBS. I just checked
Is
right
it
now.
really?
Yeah, man.
Oh no!
I don't
Now
like
I want to check.
I don't like Tony Romo, man.
Is it? Is it? Is it? Is it really?
Yeah, it's on
No, it's on.
CBS.
It's on Sunday night. It's on Sunday night.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, because it's on Saturday.
Is it?
Yeah, it's on Saturday. No, sorry, it's on Sunday. It says Baltimore and Buffalo, CBS Paramount Plus, 6:30 Eastern.
Is it really CBS? Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
yeah. I just took a
Well, You
took
got
a
me
sure
there.
shot.
Got me there.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I took a
I saw
straight
the
shot.
time and I saw the day and the time and I figured it was Sunday Night Football. Well, you got me there. You got me there. But regardless, I will be watching, um, and it's going to be a phenomenal game. Winner of that,
I think
whoever loses. Let me start with that
Bal-
one.
Baltimore wins, bro. Like I don't see the Bills, overcoming Josh Allen and Derrick Henry. Man, that is sorry. I mean Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. That is a cheat code right there. That
I
is a cheat
know.
code.
I know. I'll take the Ravens. I'll take the Ravens too. I'm going to take the Ravens to get it done. That is just such a showdown between two of the best teams in the league, and it's unfortunate for one of them that it's in the divisional round. Um, but I'll take the Ravens as well, and we'll have to see what we actually get coming on next week's show. But I think you're going to get two really, really good conference championship games
Yeah,
for sure.
and Sean McDermott. I think if he loses that game, I think he's done in Buffalo.
Really,
Yeah,
really
I think he's done. Because
interesting.
I'm following the Twitter in Buffalo, and people are really really pissed off. Because
Interesting.
man, you had Josh Allen for 5 years, man, and I think so. People expected a Super Bowl right now, so it's yeah. But hey, what
Expectations are a crazy thing.
crazy
Expectations are a crazy thing. They
crazy
they can
thing.
hurt you. They can uplift you and they can hurt you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it,
It's just
it'll
crazy.
be
Like
interesting.
everybody on Twitter is saying, "Hey, we need a franchise quarterback to win a Super Bowl." But the last 10 years, it's just been Mahomes and in Brady. That's it.
Mahomes, Brady, and Purdy.
Purdy. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you got so many elite quarterbacks. You got Burrow. You got Josh Allen. You got Herbert. Man, you got some really elite quarterbacks. But it's just crazy, man. Who makes it to the Super Bowl is just Brady, Purdy, uh,
Yep.
and that's it.
Brady, yeah.
And Mahomes.
Mahomes, Brady, and a polar bear in Arlington, Texas. Let me
Yeah,
tell you that. I mean,
it's
man,
crazy, crazy, crazy. Well,
pay
hey,
Brock Purdy. Pay Brock Purdy.
60
Mahomes
mil,
money.
60 mil.
Mahomes money.
Yeah, let's
You
do
got
10
him. He got you to the Super Bowl.
10 years, 70 million, man. Let's do it.
Oh yeah, let's get it done.
All right. Well, hey, Tommy, thanks again, man. So for a great show. Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you like the show, subscribe to the show, like the show, and give us your feedback. Next week, we're going to do Tommy's first mock draft of the season. Looking forward to that, Tommy.
I'm very, very excited. It's time. I love this season. It's the off season, but I love this season. There's a lot of it's fun. I'm excited.
All right. All right. And hey, we got to talk about um, next week. We got to talk about the college football semifinals. We didn't cover that today, but
Yes.
next week, let's
Yes.
do it.
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
All right, guys, take it easy. 12 men out.